It's time to better understand the THC consumer, discover why everything is about energy now, and how much non alcoholic beer is enough. We have insights on this and more. I'm Sightlines Director of Insights, Brian Roth, joined by lead analyst Kate Burnett for this episode of The Gist. And Kate, let's start talking about those THC consumers. We had some reporting that went up on Sightlines recently that looked at cannabis users and what they choose in the on-premise, and giving context for what that means for specific categories and how producers, wholesalers, and retailers can think about that. But we're also starting to see more attention being paid to the kind of collection of people and how demographics, buying patterns really starts to matter here. To help set up and frame this conversation too, what have you learned going back over the last year or so as you've been reporting on this for Sightlines of how and why perhaps it's important to start thinking about THC users not as some kind of monolith, but the really kind of coalition of people that makes up this group?
Well, imagine any other large umbrella category: beverage alcohol, energy, hydration, any overarching CPG category. You wouldn't assume that there is only one type of person who is shopping in that category. So just by virtue of a maturing, evolving, increasingly legal uh, category, we're going to see sort of personas and different types of needs evolve within that category. So that's just kind of a natural evolution. But also, the people who have been using cannabis from the legacy market for decades, maybe it was safe to assume that those were a certain type of person who was willing to purchase something on the black market. Maybe that's male, maybe that's younger, maybe it's a certain income bracket. With increased legalization, we're really opening up that we're really opening the funnel here. And we're increasingly seeing consumers who don't fit that stereotype, who are probably there all along, but just kind of got lost a little bit. But we're seeing increased attention to women in particular, especially as new formats come to market in the cannabis space. It's no longer just flower, right? Or brownies your friend made. With new formats comes new audiences. With new legalization comes new audiences, and women are a really important part of that. I think we have all heard the stereotype that, oh, soccer moms are into weed now, which is well and true, but so are other types of women as well.
Yeah, let's put this in context. If you were joining us on YouTube, on the screen right now, you can see some points of information from a recent story report from Reuters. They looked at what exactly you were talking about, Kate. This idea of the changing market, which we have highlighted across CPG numerous times for Sightlines, about the buying power of women and non-traditional audiences. So this is specific to cannabis, but Reuters highlighted 55% of users on Jointly, that's a cannabis discovery app, are women. At Housing Works Cannabis, that's a store in New York, women outspend men by a couple of bucks for purchases there. In 2023, 19 to 30-year-old women surpassed men of the same age in cannabis consumption for the first time. And for retailers, and this is something that we have both talked to retailers about and are sharing in Sightlines, when it comes to the array of products that this might show up, we've done a lot around drinks. It is a familiar format, not just for women, but just broader consumers as well. But when we talk about the people who are driving change in the cannabis and hemp-derived markets, it's just that is a short path for people to feel comfortable, to experiment and maybe try these for the first time. And so when we think about who's leading the change for this segment, cannabis and hemp-derived products, it just makes sense that the things that people are already comfortable with, especially when we think about drinks in particular, like this is just what helps to drive change.
Right. I think it cannot be overstated that beverages, while still a very small part of the cannabis and THC markets, are really important for new consumers in this space, because while it's unclear what a serving of a joint is, or even sort of a gummy, I think a beverage, we're all familiar that one can is a drink, right? Or one package is a drink. So those are really, really important for, and they're portable in social situations. They're so important for those new consumers. They tend to be, though not always, they tend to be lower dose. This is where a lot of new cannabis consumers, particularly women who are especially interested in the space, are going to come into the category. And I think that has huge implications for distributors and retailers, because these beverages, more so even than flour or dabs or whatever, need to be in retail spaces where women are comfortable shopping, right? So that really, it really behooves distributors and retailers and brands to get these in those really mainstream retail, the Total Wines, the grocery chains. If these are confined to dark gas station C-stores, the soccer moms are not going to leave their kids in the car to go inside and find those beverages.
Yeah, this is a sentiment that you heard from a distributor you
Mhm.
recently talked to who is onboarding hemp-derived brands to their
Yep.
portfolio. Give some context for why that was something that was so key to their understanding of this changing market.
Yeah, this wholesaler who's in the Southeast, has been, onboarding these hemp derived beverages and knows that women are a huge consumer base for them, and has been, disappointed in states where these can't be in more sort of mainstream grocery, or in retailers who aren't interested in carrying them. Mainstream grocery, some chains are not there yet. And this distributor was telling me that's just it's a shame for the consumers who are trying to find these products, but again, want to find them in the places they're already shopping and feel comfortable. And I think it's such a huge vote of confidence and an extended hand to those consumers when they do see them at a Total Wine or at a Whole Foods in a certain state, because, oh, I shop for my food here. This must be a safe and legal accepted product if it's in these spaces.
Yeah, there was a beverage director that I spoke to recently here in North Carolina who oversees buying for a prominent a bar and combo bottle shop, who is increasing their space for hemp-derived beverages. Who didn't point it specifically at women, but just parents in general, who said that, quote, she thinks it's a lot of parents who don't want to get fucked up and be hungover in the morning. Just that lack of alcohol in their lives really driving choice here for hemp derived. I want to jump back to cannabis really quick because from some of the reporting that we did on Sightlines recently, we were looking at what cannabis users are choosing in the on-premise. And the point that we made, if you were with us on YouTube, you see a chart that accompanied our insights. Shots, RTD cocktails, and hard seltzers were the top three segments in which cannabis consumers were choosing those products on premise. Now, one of the most common problems or questions that we get asked is, well, if somebody's using cannabis or THC, what does that mean they are not using in exchange for that they're basically choosing one or the other? We know that's not necessarily the case. But in cases where someone's making, say, it's a night out and, maybe they used a THC product, what could theoretically suffer the most? The biggest issue that we saw was not one of, THC or cannabis. It's one of brand positioning.
Mhm.
That if you are looking for that THC drink that we were just talking about, that often comes as a mocktail flavored like a hard seltzer or a margarita. Well, guess what? Two of the top three categories are the cannabis consumers drink the most. It's RTD cocktails and hard seltzers. So, this is not a one-to-one. And again, just to underline it, all of the research, academic sales trends, talking with people in the market does not indicate it is a direct one in, one out. But when we're thinking more holistically about the nuance that exists in this category and how consumers are thinking about it, it's a really important part. And to put a bow tie on this too, Kate, again, if you were with us on YouTube, you can see the headline to a white paper that we released back in February of 2022. We have talked for 2 years about the importance of what it means to pay attention to women consumers given their increased spending power and their influence in the market. This is a space that we have covered heavily. And if you are interested and curious about what it means, whether it be THC drinks or otherwise, visit sightlines.news. We have a white paper available to people, whether you are not a subscriber, you can purchase it as a one-time purchase, or you can become a subscriber and gain free access to it as well. Kate, let's shift to another mood management option here. One of the big headlines from this week was Keurig Dr Pepper working to acquire Ghost Energy, and what this could mean for both these companies, but also just gives us a hint of how companies are trying to think about energy as a whole. On the screen, if you're with us on YouTube, you can see key descriptions for the now 4 energy brands under Keurig Dr Pepper: C4, Ghost, a soon-to-be-released Black Rifle energy drink, and Bloom. And the way that their CEO, Tim Kofer, is thinking about each of these. Now, this is a simple way to maybe think, Kate, energy drinks is a space where there's lots of heat. It's easy to make money. So why wouldn't Keurig Dr Pepper invest more in this space? But really, what we have seen in Sightlines and what we've been sharing with subscribers is that this keys into just a general mood that people are seeking energy in just all forms and formats more often these days. When you think about some of the research you have done, and especially the prevalence of this category and, more important, consumer need states, what does this show you? What does this tell you about the way companies are thinking about the niche of consumers and how they need to start speaking to them with more clarity?
Yes, energy is becoming a larger umbrella, again, sort of like THC and cannabis. As more consumers come into the energy space, they're looking for products that fit them. For a very long time, all energy kind of looked the same. It was male focused. It was like very aggressive. It was very like amp up, very much about the straight up caffeine, right, and straight up classic energy. What we're seeing now as the category evolves and as more consumers and brands are playing in the space, that people want different things. Energy does not have to just mean this aggressive caffeine up. It can mean things like focus or clarity or, optimization almost. And so as that umbrella gets bigger, as more, again, women, older people get into this category, it's not just that, sort of X Games Red Bull type energy anymore. And Keurig Dr Pepper is recognizing this by taking this full portfolio approach that it's building with these 4 brands. Keurig Dr Pepper has done this portfolio approach in water. They have Core, Evian, Polar. Those are all very different hydration consumers. They're applying the same playbook here to energy.
In their earnings call, these 4 brands for energy were described: C4 for gym and fitness occasions, Ghost more for lifestyle positioning that's popular with people who play video games, Black Rifle energy with the potential for, they just describe them as mainstream consumers. There's a coffee crossover here, so there's some familiarity at least. And then Bloom, sparkling energy drink, was solely described as female oriented. So the goal here is clearly to hit on multiple spaces and potential consumers, and it also shows their interest in these growing brands. On the screen right now, if you're with us on YouTube, you can see the 52 weeks ending August 11th in dollar sales and growth from the prior year. Perhaps, one thing that ties what we were just talking about to this, Kate, is that with the onboarding of Ghost, this is going to shift products from an A/B wholesaler network to one that is run by Keurig Dr Pepper. And all of a sudden, space becomes available on these trucks. And boy, are those hemp-derived products looking pretty good right about now.
Exactly. I think this loss of Ghost from some of these beer trucks is a blow to these wholesalers who just want the fullest trucks possible. Looking around for whatever non-beer products might fill that space, if not energy. Hemp derived. We spoke last episode on the Gist about the NBWA, the National Beer Wholesalers Association, Craig Purser kind of giving the thumbs up, green light to that at their annual convention this year. So I would expect there will be hungry beer distributors looking to fill trucks, if not with energy, perhaps with a downer rather than an upper.
Yeah. There is a larger positioning play here that I think we talk about a lot internally as it relates to energy, in the way that, energy drinks as a category is thriving, not just because they have specific flavors or they fit a very specific occasion, but rather they fit within this important need state that Americans more broadly are just trying to find ways to hit on not just energy, but like you were saying, focus. That more products, whether it is classically thought of as an upper or a downer like alcohol, just more products are trying to give off a feeling of energy. They're trying to fit in this occasion where people want to feel excited. They want to be able to consume something, no matter what it technically upper or downer is going to fit within this broader emotional state of feeling. Just when we think about need states, Kate, and the way that we try to position this for subscribers to Sightlines, why is this something that you feel like is key for everyone across three tiers to think about?
Whatever type of beverage we're talking about, right now flavor is table stakes. Has to taste good. That's just, table stakes baseline. Now consumers have so many choices. It's not just, does this taste good, but also like, what else does it do for me? What kind of mood management is this providing? Is this giving me focus, clarity, vitamins, functional ingredients? Just everything can be functional now in some way. And so if there are 3 great tasting options, people are going to want to choose the thing that also has this add-on, right? And I think that's just broadly a trend across all beverage and even snacks. Give me something with protein or with probiotics or whatever. Just if I have the choice, why wouldn't I choose something that also makes me feel different? Everyone is looking to manage moods all the time, and everything is becoming functionalized.
One thing that traditionally does not make you feel different, but as we believe, is looking to play in a space that does, non-alcoholic beer. So in the last couple of weeks, there's been a lot of action. Athletic Brewing, one of the leading brands in the country, a leading craft non-alc brand, announced that they were going to launch 19.2-ounce cans. Tom Holland, actor best known from the Marvel franchise for playing Spider-Man, launched a new non-alc beer brand as well. Firestone Walker, prominent craft brewery, Boulevard Brewing as well in the U.S., launching and extending into the non-alc space. And let's key in perhaps specifically first for Athletic Brewing. 19.2-ounce cans are synonymous with convenience stores, but non-alc beer basically does not sell in C-stores at all. And if you go to the Athletic Brewing website and look up their 19.2-ounce cans, you're going to prominently find them in grocery stores, where Athletic has done really well and gives them space. But Kate, most important, these new package formats also give Athletic an occasion to be in the on-premise in a unique way.
Yes. When I saw this 19.2 announcement, obviously it got heavily reported as a C-store play, which it certainly is. My first thought was venues. I think that is a massive white space for non-alcoholic beer, and especially a 19.2 slips into the music venue, sports venue occasion very well, where we know there are people who are driving, there are people who go to music shows who obviously don't drink alcohol, and or people, they want to switch back and forth. We know the vast majority of non-alcoholic beer consumers also do consume alcohol, so perhaps people are switching back and forth at a show between a full strength beer and a non-alcoholic. Anyway, I just see these 19.2s as a massive venue play. And that was my first thought, was put these in the on-premise, C stores. I don't know how much runway there is for NA beer at C stores. It just doesn't feel like the exactly right channel. Not that they can't pick up incremental sales here, but I think the real opportunity in this format would be the venues.
Yeah, for grocery, one of the things that we've seen in 2024 specifically, Kroger and Whole Foods dedicating far more space and end caps to single serve options, which if you live near a grocery store like me, and you might have seen this change where it is everything from non-alc to alcoholic brands. And so, you walk in a Harris Teeter that's near where I live, and there are FMBs, there's sparkling wine, there's 19.2 ounce double IPAs, and then there's energy drinks, teas, just about anything. And so as these buyers are looking at those spaces for athletic, which absolutely dominates the non-alc space, this immediately just screams to me the off-premise play is just to simply own space that they didn't have before. And it also just, for a category that is so top heavy, finding this opportunity and taking advantage of it is just a key play. Athletic has been dabbling in draft for about a year or so now. And when you look across non-alc brands, it's basically all the major ones account for a plurality of sales. So Athletic, Molson Coors, Heineken, Constellation, Sierra Nevada, about 60% of growth within the category. They drive what's happening. So, a fast move play like this makes a lot of sense. And also helps us to put this in context of other beer categories too, for the reason why, buyers and wholesalers might feel excited about this. On the screen, we have a 4-week period ending October 6th for both dollars and volume growth. Non-alc beers up 29% in dollars, up 23% in volume. Craft, for example, down almost 4% in dollars and a little over 5% in volume too, amongst others. This is just, it's an instance where, when we talk about one in, one out, in this case, as it relates to off-premise shelf space, replacing a ninth best-selling, iced tea in a cold box with the top-performing craft non-alc IPA in your store just seems to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I think the question, as we zoom out from athletic to, Tom Holland's entrance and some of these other craft players, is this is a very top-heavy category that is still small, relatively. Again, we had it compared to hard cider, where there are, most stores do not have 20 ciders. So how long is this long tail going to get, and is there eventually going to be some kind of rationalization here where, not every single craft brand needs to have the NA. Not every celebrity needs to endorse an NA beer. We'll see, because again, it is so top heavy and dominated by these top players who are doing really well, but just how much can the shelf bear at some point?
Yeah. As brand positioning for non-alc in other spaces just becomes far more important, you can learn more at sightlines.news, where Kate and I are constantly giving context for what's happening. That's going to be it for this episode of The Gist. If you want more in-depth analysis, actionable insights, you can join us at sightlines.news, where subscribers get weekly updates delivered to their inbox. Until next time, I'm Brian Roth with Kate Bernat.